Hello there. My build so far, part 2. I'm a sweaty boy. Let's get into it. Now, there's a couple of things that has come to my attention when playing this game that for a while I've been wanting a companion, a +1 companion. And in the, what is it, I think it was level 45 that I uploaded a video for. Last was just taking the piss out of +1 with the dog. Since that video, I've been playing as much as I can, and I've got to level 60. And I have come to the conclusion that actually getting +1 companion is pointless. Actually pointless. Because 2 out of the 3 companion skills actually get worse with +1 companion. So we're going to hover over the wolf description here. And even though the numbers look low, the damage numbers are actually a lot higher because of the stacking damage values. So, but let's just say 450. Actually, better yet, let's say 500, because that's more or less the average there, right? So 500. Now, you would think, logically, that it summons 2 wolves, and both of them do average 500 damage per hit. No. Absolutely not. I've been monitoring their damage in normal dungeons and nightmare, and I can tell you this much. They're not doing that. They're not even doing anywhere near that in terms of their base damage hits. What's actually happening, from what I can see in terms of the damage that they're doing, is that most enemies in this game have got, like, I don't know, anywhere between 20 to 50, maybe even 60 damage reduction on an incoming hit. Especially elites, maybe. Especially with the suppressor mod or whatever. But in terms of the actual damage, it gets split between the 2 wolves. So, 1 wolf is actually only doing 250 damage on the average. And then that's cut in half again because of the reductions of enemies. So they're actually only biting for about 120, maybe 140. I've seen a couple of 170s maybe, but it fluctuates. And they're doing really low damage. And from what I can tell, it's because they're sharing the damage between all the summons. All of them. That's a little frustrating. Because if you get +1 companion, you now have to split that 500 average damage between 3 wolves. And I checked this. I actually put +1 companion. And their damage went down to less than 100. It's sharing the damage. That to me is fucking stupid. I don't know if that's by design or if that's just an oversight on Blizzard's part. I am going to hope and pray that that was a fucking oversight on Blizzard's part. Because the wolf damage is so shit because of that. That they're effectively doing 0 damage throughout the entire fight. My character could spit at an enemy and it would do more damage. So here's me, hitting for thousands of damage, and my wolves are biting for about 80 or 90 if I've got 3 of them, 120 to 150 if I've got 2 of them. That is alarming, because it also means that my poison creeper is also splitting its poison damage between several targets. And yes, you do get 2 poison creepers. However, because of the way that the AI works in this, they never seem to go for different targets. They always seem to attack the same target over and over. And from what I can tell, it's because they follow each other. The 2 companions are going around you together. because they're always together, they're always attacking the same targets. So you would think you're putting poison on two separate targets, and this is never the case. I mean, they sometimes do, but it's incredibly fucking rare. And it's another build that's becoming frustrating. But not as in not playable. I'm still going to play this, because the damage is actually quite nice. And there's no knockback, so yay. But at the same time, what's the point in having two poison creepers if they're both going to attack the same target at the same time? That's only effective against a boss, by the way. But you would think, well, that's two lots of poison damage. No, that's one lot of poison damage split in half and then applied to the target. I'm doing two lots of separate stacks of poison, and they're not getting separate damage or anything like that. They're getting the same damage as just being hit once. So the damage number stays the same. It doesn't matter if it's only one or if it's two. The two are doing collectively the same damage as one. So +1 poison creeper is pointless. 100% pointless. Ravens. A +1 to the Raven is actually okay, because, like I said, there's two of these that are actually worse, but the other one is alright. And that's because the Ravens do seem to target random enemies. And if you have the passive, that means that when they swoop down and hit a target, they will apply the +5 crit, the node on the tree. Where is it? That one. +5% critical strike chance. So you are still getting that increased critical strike. If you get the +1 Raven. It's the only one that seems to actually benefit from the companion. Because their base damage doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the Ravens are doing damage. You only want the Ravens to hit to apply the crit. Or you want the Ravens for the Ferocious Ravens to apply the vulnerability. You don't really care for the Raven damage. Completely pointless. Again, making the skill pointless, by the way. Just an FYI, all of that damage, what is it, about 800 damage, is split between 4 fucking Ravens, so they're essentially doing no damage as well. It's kind of weird how all 3 of these moves are made worse, technically. I mean, 2 of them have been made worse. The third one, debatable. I'd rather have the +1 Raven that's doing an extra crit stack. But at the same time, if I do that, I've made these 2 worse. I don't understand the function. That aspect, because of the way that it works, makes them worse. +1 companion makes your fucking build worse. How the fuck did that get through testing? Seriously, try it for yourself. Try it for yourself. If they have reduction, your wolf, if it's doing 500 damage, if they have reduction, the wolf should still be doing, what, about 250, 280 on the bite, because of like the 40 to 60% reduction or whatever, depending on how you want to see it. But they're clearly not doing more than 250 damage. They're not even making 200 damage. They're barely even doing 150. Meaning that damage is literally cut in half, and then it's cut in half again for the minions, reducing their incoming damage. Making the passive function of wolves pointless. Now, the only good thing is that if you make them into werewolves, they do apply poison stacks, which is nice. They could bite. It's a little bit on the slow side, the poison, the rabies bite that they do. It's very slow. I don't know. It seems like it's got a humongous cooldown. But when they do hit, and this is on cooldown because I've not got the triggers from Pack Leader, I'm still then doing extra damage. Like, for instance, to a boss, if this hasn't come off cooldown and these bite and apply rabies, I'm still doing the more damage to to bosses and stuff because of nodes like this. 10% damage to poison enemies. So I am still getting the increase because of the rabies. But again, getting the werewolves because they do more damage isn't the case. The only thing that it's doing is that it's increasing the damage by a little bit. Again, it's additional damage. This isn't multiplicative. Whatever the damage is, it's its own damage. So you got the multiplicative stuff, and then it says additional. That's added on at the end. It's not timesed by it or anything like. It's just added. The amount of damage that you get is actually crap, because if you actually think about it, 75%. Okay, let's use the top end. This is 100%. Let's just say it's 100%. The minions, your companions, first get their damage cut in half because they're splitting it between two minions. So 500 becomes 250. It then gets split in half again because of defenses. But then it's adding like an additional 100% of that bite as extra damage. Additional damage. So, yeah, you're now doing over 200 damage. Right? Well, no, because I calculated the fucking thing wrong to begin with. That 75% was already active when I was doing this test. So even though the average is 500, I was getting the 75%, which was causing me to get more than the 125 damage that I should be doing per hit. And it sometimes went up to like 170. I'm still not doing over 200 damage with the additional damage modifier on top. It is that bad. It is that bad. Really fucking bad. It's so shit. The only reason why you want to turn them into werewolves is not for the extra damage or, now they're going to attack faster or move faster. Nope. They're basically wolves. They're the same. They don't move faster or anything from as far as I can tell. But there's another little caveat that I need to get into in a second. I'll get into that more in a moment after I've explained this. The only good thing about the werewolves is the rabies. That's it. The entire aspect is made redundantly shit. If you, for instance, don't do the poison stacking damage modifying. Completely and utterly trash if you don't go poison. However, your companions gain bonuses from the bestial rampage is probably the best key passive node or whatever the fuck it's called to get for your minions, because they just get 20% increased damage, 20% increased attack speed. You don't actually need to have bestial, whatever you want to call it. That was a tongue twister. You don't need to have that active, but if you have the imprint, that aspect activates for your minions only. You don't get it. So out of all of the minion nodes that you could get so far, the +1 and the werewolves, the only one that actually makes sense is the bestial rampage. Everything else is pretty fucking bad. I kind of wondered why people was basically going werewolf form to do the tornado spam. I was kind of curious that, like, maybe the damage of the werewolves, if you get them, maybe you could stack the damage and do a lot of single target damage with them with so many fucking hits hitting the boss. And I've quickly learned that you could play this game with these active and it never feels like they're active. These might as well be ghosts, faded out, just something in the background, whatever. They don't feel like they contribute at all. Their abilities do. Their AoE effects and their jump and attack. I'll get to that in a minute. The werewolves have got a bug. I'll explain that in a sec. So, on my build with the helmet, I'm trying to go defense at the moment. I haven't found anything better than this, so I've just slapped on the basic skills grant. 20% damage reduction for a bit of survivability. We got the barrier, total armor, max life, poison res. I would argue that getting poison res is probably the strongest resistance that you can try to max out as you can, because the vast majority of enemies in this game just want to vomit poison everywhere. It's ridiculous. Getting poison resist, just lowering that damage just a little bit will help your survivability. So if you could get poison resist on gear and you don't really know what else to get on it, that's fine, keep it. Lucky hit, damage to injured, which is pretty good because when you're clearing, if there's a lot of minions, you just do basically increased damage to these things, and because you're doing increased damage, the crits are hitting a lot harder and your clear speed actually goes up, even though it says injured. That's less than 35% health. You still have to do a lot of damage to get them down to 35% health. That's where base crit comes in, so that you could stack that damage, blah blah blah. A bit of attack speed. The imprint is not active. Why? Oh, I've got 2 imprints. Whoops. I'll fix that in a minute. You heal, so if you jump into the middle of a pack, this will keep you alive. You get 179 per second. That's 170 life per second just from having enemies near you. So every enemy that's near you, you get 18 health. And then that stacks upwards. Obviously, I got a really low end one here. Only 18 when you could get 45. That's pretty good. Survivability is key. When you have Fortify, you will always have Fortify in a build like this. Your Earth skills are +2 ranks. Because you're relying on the cooldowns of your other abilities, you need a very heavy spammable move. And Earth Spike is one of the most spammable. You can stack the attack speed, get it out really fast. That will then trigger... there's so many panels on this game. That will then trigger Earthen Might. You can actually get Earthen Might to also work on storms using a imprint. I don't have that. I was using it, but I've upgraded my ring and I didn't have a spare. And I put this on it and I didn't realise that it was already active, but still. But that's probably a good one to use. The werewolves... It's still handy because of the rabies, it's fine. Bestial Rampage, a no-brainer. The weapon itself, by the way, is pretty shit. The actual damage modifiers are really low, it's not that great. I'm planning on upgrading this whenever I can get the upgrade. I could just disintegrate the weapon and put the werewolves as an imprint on the new weapons, that's fine. With this one, I've gone with... critical strikes against injured enemies, so the clear speed goes up. The reason why I've gone with that is because normally the base crits that you get on something like this is probably around 4 to 5%, and you could probably get that up to maybe 6-7%. With this, it's effectively double the crit, and the only prerequisite is that I have to get the enemy down to 35% health. So this comes in handy against bosses. You can kill off the last third of their health bar quicker, which is nice. I have been trying to roll away that 70 life. This game has got a lot of money sinks in it, holy shit. But yeah, I'm trying to get rid of that life to try to actually get crit. So then I'll have increased crit on injured, increased crit, lucky hit, and the cooldown reduction. I'm going to be using this for a long time. The stats on it are just too good. It's just too good. I just need to get rid of that life for hopefully crit. That's the one thing I want on this. This ring probably is going to be with me for a long time as well. It's a huge amount of life. It's got a nice tasty amount of crit. It's the max crit that I can get. A nice amount of lucky hit and a pretty good solid amount of vulnerability damage. It's a pretty good ring. It's got a life defense on it. It's got increased stats for damage. It's pretty good. The other ring is more or less the same. It's gone for crit, vulnerability damage. There's no lucky hit on this. So I have to basically get rid of this at some point, upgrade this. This is the ring that I will change first before I change this one. Critical strike damage. I don't necessarily need the critical strike damage. But the vulnerability helps, and damage to slowed. I am constantly slowing because of Hurricane. So I am still getting some good damage out of this, but obviously I'd prefer the lucky hit roll. This necklace has fell behind. It's okay because it it is actually helping my companions with the damage, and I'm getting a flat amount of damage anyway while in human form, which is really good. Plus I've got the disobedience attachment to it for the extra armor, which is keeping me alive. The spirit boons are pretty much the same. We've gone with the control impairing effect. This game's full of them. Anything that reduces it is a no-brainer. Crit, critical strike damage, the pack leader, and the obsidian, because the other three don't do anything for this type of build. Arguably this doesn't either, but still. In terms of the skill tree, I've gone with unrestrained. It's a no-brainer. We need survivability. We are trying to trigger the spam ability of the other three moves, so we need survivability to be able to spam that. And we get Earth Spike spam, so we're trying to get attack speed as much as we can wherever we can get it. Yeah, we're going with the Earth and Might. The Hurricane we've maxed out. We don't necessarily need to max this out at all. The damage on it is pretty shit. The only reason why I have is because it triggers crit. When a crit triggers from Hurricane, it's per hit. So if an enemy is standing next to you while it's, within Hurricane, and you have the Earth and Might active, which is like crits for 5 seconds, 5 of the hits out of the, because obviously it's 1 attack per second for 8 seconds, 5 of those hits will be critting. So even though the average, is about 4,000, you're still doing, because of the increase to crit damage, probably about 10k per hit. No, not per hit, but collectively about 10k, which is really nice. It's not that bad, but probably shouldn't have spent points in Hurricane. Don't really know where else to spend the points. Maybe put 3 in this instead. Your storm skills have up to 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable. That's probably a good alternate. I'm going to have to mess with that. I have put points into Raven, though, again, arguably, I probably shouldn't put any points in Raven at all. I'm doing it just for the extra AoE damage, so if I was to take all the points out, it goes down to an average of 7,000. With all the points in, the average is, 10,000. So it's an extra 3,000 DPS. It's got to be worth it, right? The Poison Creeper is actually doing a lot of damage. It's way more than 14,000. It goes well over upwards of 25,000, I think, when all of the effects kick in when I leave town. We're going to get to the Wolves active momentarily. Vigilance, damage reduction, no-brainer. We're spamming Earth and Bulwark. We need that extra 6 seconds of damage reduction. It's really nice. Because we are standing close to enemies pretty much constantly, that increased crit is very nice. Max out the damage of Earth and Spike because we are spamming it, and I've gone with the Fortify because we need Fortify. This character needs some extra layers of defense. It's not necessary. You don't have to have Fortify, but it's like playing Path of Exiles. You don't have to have Fortify on your characters in that game either, but yet the game feels less shit and less one-shotty if you do have Fortify. So, go for that. I will, however, be dropping it when I actually find the Earth Spike one that does AoE, so it shoots it out and fires it in a line. Because, and the reason I want to do that is because I want to hit as many targets as I can to get those crits and to get those lucky hits so that I could get the pack leader to trigger. So I want to make sure that while this is active, Earth and Might, that every time it comes out and hits an enemy, it's critting, and that crit is rolling the lucky hit for the pack leader spam. I haven't found it yet. I did have it when I first made the character, but I got rid of it. And that's the only one I've found this entire time. But when I get it again, I actually will be using it. Summon a second Earth Spike when hitting. For some reason, even though this only says 10%, I'm getting a lot of stuns. Like, it's ridiculous how often this actually stuns enemies. 10% you would think is an incredibly low number, and yet it seems to be active all the time. Like, it's ridiculous. So I'm not complaining. But yeah. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to have Fortify. It helps. But the moment I can get Earth Spike spam, I'll be getting Earth Spike spam. And it goes for ages, by the way. It goes literally off screen. It just zooms. So if you can get a load of spam, then that's brilliant. Still no core skills. Don't see the point. We don't want to be spending that. Again, we are using the imprint that increases our damage based on our primary resource, so really no point. My base crit is 31 plus 6 from the tree if I'm close to an enemy, plus 12% if they are injured, so I'm easily upwards of like 50% here. That's good enough for me, but I'd still like to make sure that it's not just through injured, so I want to get a little bit more crit on this. If I roll into health, I'll settle for health. If I roll into total armor, I'll settle for armor. I don't know if you can get that on this, but I'm pretty sure you can get health. So there's 3 stats that if they roll, I'll use that instead, but still. My vulnerability is... my lucky hit is 20%, basically. That's not too bad. 20% is realistic. That is what most people are going to get. Maybe 25 on the top end. And those that have min-maxed are probably going to get it to like 30%. You're not going to really get it much higher than 25 on most builds. And realistically, 20% is pretty much all you're going to get. There are some other places that I could get it, but that's basically that. Cooldown reduction, though it is helpful, it's not necessary at all on this build. The Hurricane, though it is nice to have a few extra seconds cheaper for you to be able to get it out, doesn't actually make that much difference. But yeah. Tier 7 Lightning Caller, yeah, let's just do this. Let's activate that. Let's go there. Let's do this. Let's just go through a dungeon now that I've explained it. But you're going to see something now. And at first I thought it was funny, but then I realized that it's atrocious. Your wolves are bugged. Your werewolves. Not your wolves themselves, your werewolves. This doesn't happen with normal wolves. I don't know why. Maybe their bigger hitbox causes them to get stuck. But they float. And they get stuck in the air. Even when there's no fucking ceiling for them to get stuck on. So we're going to see that in a moment. But still. Let's just go through this tier 7. I'll let you know when it happens.
Bless you.
It's because you're not going to be able to see it yourself. You won't know when it's... Oh, there it is! There it is! There it is! He's stuck in the sky. No longer being a part of my fucking team. He's just up there chilling. I can't show you yet because of the fucking poison. He's just up there. He's chilling. He's having good fun. Nice and relaxed. Look at him. Stuck there now. Fantastic coding we have here. This needs to be fixed. This needs to be like changed now because it's abysmal. It's actually making this type of play ridiculous. But either way, like it's stupid, but what can you do, eh? So yeah, my clear speed is pretty good. The wolves do unstick themselves after a while, but they can get stuck in the boss room as well. They just get stuck. And there's nothing you can do about it. No, actually there is one thing you can do. There is one thing you can do. Yep. Remove the wolves so they despawn, and then put them back on your hotbar. If they get stuck in a boss room, that's the only fucking thing you can do. You have to remove it off your hotbar, and then resummon them.
Wouldn't have made it without you.
Oh, they could be further down. I've got to go back. So you'll see that my companions are triggering a lot more when the enemies are injured. Because I'm getting that increased 12% critical strike. There's a lot of fucking chests.
My savior.
I wouldn't have made it without you.
Damn right. Did I miss one? Oh. What? There you go. You see, I'm getting the triggers a lot. So because I've got upwards of 50% crit, and every hit caused by Earth Spike and Hurricane is potentially triggering that hit. So it's pretty good. Just so good. It is a nightmare dungeon, so you want to try and kill everything. Get all the XP. There's fuck all over there. Oh no, there's a chest. Couldn't even see it. Spawn enemies? Yep. So yeah, my damage isn't like in the millions, and it's not going to ever be. I could probably get this into the tens of thousands, but that's about it. That's about as high as you'll ever get it. Which I'm okay with. I'm actually perfectly okay with that. I don't really care to... Oh my god, look. They're stuck in the wall now. That is just horrendous code. It's like they don't even reset. They reset if you get too far away from them. That's about the only way to get them to reset, but still. But if you're going to use this build, and you're kind of curious what to get, gain the +1 companion points. Absolutely pointless. Where's so many fucking enemies? climbing out of the map. What the fuck? Where are you going? How did I freeze? What the fuck? Don't know why there were so many enemies spawning there, but yeah. I'm staying alive, that's all that matters. Doesn't matter if my damage is low, I'm still fixing it. I have been for the past 15 levels. I'm getting there. Why is the names not... I'm not seeing names when it drops. There we go. Some more damage on top. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, the build is perfectly fine, perfectly reasonable. What did that just say? Area item dropped. What was the area item? Who cares? So yeah, you can make the build work in your favor. It's got a few problems that make it a little bit annoying, but apart from that, yeah, it's now it's all about just getting that damage and stacking it and making it better. At the moment, I haven't really found that. I am still concentrating on the Glythe. The Paragon Glythes is probably the best thing for me to actually get my damage. As you can see, I get nearly 50% companion skill damage just from this one Glyph alone. I am going to try and get the 25 intelligence so that I get the 80% increased, not additional, increased damage. So their damage will actually go up by a considerable amount. It'll probably go from like 500 to 750 or something on the average, which is perfectly fine. It's not a huge amount, but it does offset the fact that it is sharing that damage between both minions. But apart from that, I need to get the radius up, so I am trying to get this Glythe socket up here. I'm going to go this way. I've grabbed all of the damage to poisoned enemies, elites and stuff like that. I still need dex to get it to work. A lot of dex, actually. While there's 3 or more poison enemies nearby, you deal 45% increased damage, so it's a nice multiplier there. So as long as I'm whacking this, I then get that 45% increase. And that's the build. Part 2. Probably need to change up a few things to be able to get more out of the tree. Like I am using Envenom, for instance. Poison enemies take 30% additional critical strike damage, which is nice, I suppose. But apart from that, the build is stable, I think is the correct word to say. That I'm still pushing into, you know, higher tier dungeons for nightmares. I've got a couple tier 9 and 10s for the next video that I make. There is one coming out tomorrow. There's tier 7 and 8, and then obviously I'll put this one up probably the same day. I'm not too sure, but I'll do 9 and 10, get them out the way, and then I could just free farm, you know, tier 10 nightmare dungeons. I think I'm at that point where I could just do tier 10 dungeons over and over. I just did a tier 7 comfortably without any problems. Yeah, that's where I am currently in my endeavors. I'm enjoying this game a lot to figure out. The fact that I came across the companion issue by myself through testing was cool, because I actually needed to go out of my way to do the damage, to test the numbers, to get them to attack, for me to monitor the damage. It felt good. I felt like I was actually potentially contributing to this game. I do personally think it's an oversight, that it's a problem that they need to fix. I think that the damage should be per minion. I don't think it should be split in half. That might be an error on their part. They might be doing that accidentally, because if they've actually programmed it in that way, then that's really fucking dumb. And I hope that they fix that, because the lucky hit isn't split as far as I'm concerned. It's not 30% per wolf. I'm pretty sure that per wolf gets 60%. I don't fucking know. But either way. That was a lot of explaining. I'm just gonna farm nightmares. Probably do a little bit of Helltide because I need the crafting mats. But mostly I need the money. I need the money. I need all that juicy tasty money. And I need to farm that, so... And I need to fix this bloody issue that I didn't realise that I had. Either way, thank you for watching. Take care. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.